ये फरमाइए, given अब now my question is addressed to both of you. Given
अच्छा,
that both of you have led your respective institution, you have led IBA Karachi and you have led LUMS. Uh, so my question to both of you would be that based on your experience of leading one of the most high quality institution in Pakistan, in Karachi and Lahore, what exactly are your experiences of managing, governing institutions and faculty? And what are the do's and don'ts and advices for the current leaders and the future leaders of higher education institutions? We start from you and then we'll come to Dr. Zahoor.
I think you have hit on the nail. The most difficult management position I held was at IBA Karachi. I had civil service, I had World Bank, I had Governor State Bank. They never posed so much, especially managing the faculty who are all prima donnas and you cannot disturb their egos in any way. So it was a constant struggle how to get work out of them, how to keep them motivated, how to keep them right. Because they said, this is the way we do, we will continue to do it. That may conflict with the goals you have for the institution. So that was my worst nightmare, managing the faculty at IBA. But you know, you bring in the younger people. Those who are already there, you don't want them to change because they won't change. So the better is to bring in the younger people and use them as the change agents. And that is what I worked. When I left, we had 72 PhDs on the faculty, most of them from the best universities in the world, Northwestern, Cambridge, Berkeley, UCLA, Duke, so they came and they helped a great deal in that. But the old faculty was a source of big resistance and headache. They would oppose everything.
What to do with them?
Well, you just let them do what they were doing. Ignore them. That's it.
For a very brief time, for 2 years, I was also head of the business school at LUMS.
Yeah.
And my experiences have not been very different from yours,
Yeah.
I would say. Dr. Zahoor?
Difficult one, but I'll try.
Yeah.
I think my situation was a little different than both because I had been there
Yeah.
many years, so I knew the people. So that's an advantage. You know who can do what and what strength they bring in. But on the management side, in terms of the board, my exposure was limited. So my main challenge was to make sure that
At the top.
At the top, and there I leveraged something which I learned way back when I was working in US, is that your boss, and this is my first boss, I told me this, that make sure that I am the first to know about any issue or problem. I don't want to hear anything about what's going on from a third source.
Yes. Keep me informed.
So my basic principle was, because I knew that Babar Ali is the key person, to keep him in the loop, seek his guidance and his support, and then make sure that he'll manage the other people
Yeah.
at that level. In terms of the faculty, given that I have known people and knew their strengths, I think I was very fortunate to have a very committed and accomplished team. I mean, I have almost ideal deans who could do many things and knew the values, and you just had to agree on certain things, and then I didn't need to worry about it. That was one part. But my real challenge came when we started doing something new. That's when the School of Science and Engineering idea came. And this was a major shift with a new school, with a more research orientation. And we wanted to create it in such a way that we could meet its requirements and not be encumbered by the original thinking. So I came up with this idea with support of Mabarsa, is to create a separate unit that was based right outside my office, for a Mosque
Yeah.
like that. And I let him do his bit, but every evening we would have a 1 or 2 hour discussion because we just crossed the aisle. That created a lot of resentment in the existing strong people. That okay, now these guys are getting a different treatment and they're getting different resources. I tried to address that by forming a committee to have coordination, but that did not work. And maybe I should have involved myself more. I left it to that committee to sort of think. I wanted to be 1 degree away from that to actually resolve.
So if you were to redo it, you would be part of the committee?
I would have managed it
Yeah.
much more hands-on. So
Yeah.
the second challenge was that, as Dr. Saab mentioned, there are certain issues on which you have to take a position. And those issues relate to the fundamental ethos of the place where you are. And that's where you have to overcome your personal biases, your personal affiliations, and you pay a price. I paid a price. I lost a friend from my high school days on a matter of principle. And to this date, we don't talk to each other.
Who is it?
Yes.
Who are you not talking to?
One of his friends from high school.
We were roommates. We had the same advisor. We worked together. And a lot of
so he used to be an employee at LUMS?
No, he was there. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, that's okay.
But there was a moment where I had to take a position which I thought was, and he had a different position.
Okay.
So that was the price which you paid.
That's the price that you paid.
Yeah.
And this is where my wife helped me, because of course the 2 families knew each other. So I told her this is the situation, and she just mentioned one line. He said, "You do what you have to do."
So she was a point of support and consolation.
Yeah, she said, "Okay, you stick with your principles and don't worry about other things." So I think that's one thing. The second thing which becomes an issue when you deal with faculty, I agree with Dr. Saab that handling people who have big egos is a huge
which is always the case with faculty.
Very big
because
egos.
they are as qualified as us.
But my principle there, which I think helped me, is that make sure that people are heard. There's a lot of debate and discussion. This is something which I learned primarily from my bosses. Dr. Hussain was my mentor. So you have to give people the space to voice their opinion. But at the end, you maintain control over what actually happens.
So decision is yours.
Decision is mine. And then you have to own that decision. And you have to take the heat for it. And I think there are 2 or 3 occasions, which I don't want to go into, where I effectively stuck my neck out. Said,
I think that's
okay, this is it. I mean, I know what you have to say, but because it's my responsibility to make sure that things are done according to a certain standard. So I will.
So taking a position is important.
Taking a position. So it's not a question of democracy. It's not a question of
voting.
Right. So I mean, you do take input, but I am, and this is something which I learned over the years, that at the end of the day, you have to call.
But we have seen, as Dr. Ishrat suggested, and you also, Dr. Zahoor, suggested, that you have to take position.
Yeah.
But we have seen also leaders in the higher education institution, deans and vice chancellors, who think that taking a position is costly, and they do not take a position. And they are able to complete their stint, and they are able to get renewals and all of those extensions. So how would you comment on it?
I think at any level, whether you are a first level manager or an entry worker, I think there have to be some deadlines. Okay? And you have to live by those. Because otherwise, and it becomes more difficult as you have greater responsibility. There's things that you have to be very clear. And again, I give my lot of credit to what I ended up doing to my late father, because he would narrate stories about his own service, where he took his boss on and was willing to face the consequences. And I think those things will indirectly have impacted my way of doing things. This is something that you will not compromise. And just to narrate one line, he would always be said, "Don't sit in a seat that you cannot leave in 10 seconds."
Do not be too close to the seats of power. Dr. Ishrat?
I was just saying that sometimes you have to separate your personal ego from your professional responsibilities.
Mm.
There was a librarian at the State Bank who was carrying out, email campaign against me. And everybody came to me and said, suspend him,
Yeah,
take
okay.
action against him. So when his promotion case came to me, people assumed that because of this, he
He
would
would be
not be promoted.
penalized. Yeah.
He was promoted. And from that day onwards, his attitude and behavior
Being
changed.
fair to people. Yeah.
So people ask, why is this? He said, I said to them, I separate my personal preferences
Mm.
from my professional duties.
Mm.
There was a vice chancellor of PIDE who was very unpopular with the chancellor, and I was a member of the Senate. I was the only one defending him. And the chancellor said, Dr. Saab, he sits and abuses you everywhere, and you are the only person. You must be an angel that you are defending him. I said, no, I make a distinction between my personal affairs and my professional. Professionally, he deserves it. He is capable of it. So your judgment should not be clouded with what happened. But in most of the cases of the higher educational institutions, your personal biases, your personal ego
Mm.
drive the decisions rather than a fair assessment of the situation. That I think is very
One
important.
other
Thank
thing
you.
which, again, when one reflects, sort of worked for me, is that you see, you have people who possess certain strengths and they always have certain weaknesses. And there was a very senior colleague that everybody felt that they cannot work with that person. I had great relationship with that person because my interest was leveraging his strengths
Mm.
and making sure that the negative aspects do not hurt the institution. So and this is true in all positions.
So continue to engage with them.
No, engage with them and leverage
And put them
Yeah.
to
that
use.
individual strength. I mean, don't give this person something that you know will not be able to do. But if you give respect to people, if you give them due deference, I think people will surprise you.
I can share a small experience.
Mm.
You know the person, that there was a faculty member at the business school at LUMS who had the habit of tendering his resignation every 6 months. So whenever he came to me in my office, I always gave him a task. And then he would do it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so
And
that
that's
also
true at
happens.
any level.
Yeah.
It's true, I mean, within your own home. I mean, you know that, okay, certain thing will
So,
be only accomplished in a certain way.
yeah.
So you follow that.